Welcome to the Animation Station Podcast, your home for discussions and debates about all things animation. Each week, we'll rank, review, and revel in animated shows from yesterday and today, and from around the world. So grab your Acme slingshot, set your mobile suit to autopilot, and put on your mouse ears. The Animation Station Podcast begins now.
That's awesome. So, are you guys going to see Lego Batman?
I want to, but I don't know.
Probably when it's free on Netflix.
Yeah.
No, it
Awesome.
looks good. It looks funny. I listened to your guys' Cartoon Cafe for it, and it actually didn't really spoil anything because I still felt like I'd be able to go in and watch that movie and still enjoy
it. Didn't spoil.
Yeah.
Okay, then I guess I'll go listen to it. I haven't listened to it yet because I was like, well, I think I should see the movie first.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll go listen.
Yeah, I agree. I listened to it after it got posted just to kind of hear how we did, because it was our first non-spoiler free Cartoon Cafe.
Yeah.
And I agree. I listened to it and I was like, okay, well, we kind of gave our full reaction to it, but we really didn't spoil it. So
okay, cool.
That's
well, I mean,
cool.
there's really not a lot to spoil.
Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty straightforward Batman tale, so...
Nice.
But, yeah, I think you guys will get a kick out of it. It's really funny. Like, it's one of the funniest, like, comic book superhero movies I've ever seen. It's good.
It's right up there with Deadpool comedy-wise.
Oh, nice. I always think that's a better direction for WB to be working towards. So hopefully they can continue that and kind of see like, oh, hey, this was successful and people enjoyed it. Like maybe we can do more than one or two jokes and have characters that are actually funny deliver the line, as opposed to Batman, who's never funny unless he's a Lego.
Unless he's Will Arnett. Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that like when the commercials come on, Remy pays attention to it. So it's like, oh well, if he would sit through it, then we'll go for it. But like Finding Dory, he didn't sit all the way through, but Moana he did. But I think it was because the songs kind of keep his attention in. So that we're still kind of gauge that. We've got Beauty and the Beast coming up here next month, so that may be a trial run to see if he can actually sit through live action with songs.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
You could test him out on Les Mis.
Oh, God.
Gosh, no, don't.
Here's 3 hours of depressing music and everybody dies.
But they sing, so I mean that you can kind of gauge if he likes the music.
Maybe we'll do Into the Woods.
That, Josh.
Oh God, but Into the Woods is like 7 hours. It's the longest musical.
Yeah, it really is. The Disney one wasn't that long, but the actual musical is epic.
Yeah, no,
2 parts.
The Broadway one with
2 VHS.
What's her name? Bernadette Peters.
Yeah.
Is the best. Like I will watch that one over and over again.
Absolutely, I totally agree. So, Josh, you want to kick it off here?
What?
And tell everybody that we're an animation podcast and not a Broadway podcast?
Welcome to the Broadway Busters podcast. No. Oh, we could totally be the Broadway Boys podcast. The Broadway Bros podcast, dude.
Switch it up. All right.
We'll start that. That'll be next month. Welcome to the Animation Station. I just waved for no reason. Welcome to the Animation Station podcast. My name is Josh.
I'm Gavin, and joining us are our amazing friends from Cloud City Cast, Liam and Brittany.
Hi. I waved back to you, Josh, by the way.
Yay!
I don't think he realizes, but he waves every time he says welcome.
Do I?
You do, every single time. I think it's hilarious.
I do that for the people.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'm sure they receive that good vibe on their end when they listen to it.
You feel more welcoming that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys,
feel your energy.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm really excited to geek out about one of our favorite Disney movies with you guys today. We're going to be talking about Disney's Hercules.
Yeah.
But we do have
thanks for having us, guys. We're excited to come back again.
Yeah,
I'm glad we didn't ruin our chances the last time.
No, you guys are awesome.
We do have one bit of news, though.
Okay.
So,
better be
DreamWorks announced that Troll Hunters Season 2 is in the works. See, it kind of goes back with what we were originally talking about.
Circle.
Troll Hunters Season 2
has a green light.
Yeah, it has a green light, and Guillermo del Toro said that they're pretty much have all the episodes done.
Yeah.
I mean, written-wise, so just got to do the animation and have to recast Anton, because that's going to be a monumental task.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what are they going to do about that? Because that is, I mean, his voice isn't, like, completely unique, but, I mean, there is that, I don't know, there's, like, that stigma now, because you're going to be like, oh, well, this character, and he didn't want to recast it before they put it out either. They were like, no, they've already got all his audio, let's move forward with it.
Right. That'll be interesting to see what they do.
I'll do it. I'll make the sacrifice.
All right.
I was going to say, if anything, if they age him a couple years and make it like with a slightly deeper voice, that you could be like, hey, he went through puberty, you know? That's one way to get around it.
Yeah, I mean, without spoiling anything for Gavin, could happen. I mean, the way the end happens, there's a bit of a... You never know.
I'm excited.
He does die in the end, so...
I'm excited to see, how the second season plays out as far as the animation goes, because they're sure to have a bigger budget in season 2, because I think it's been very successful, and I feel like it is some of the best CG animation that I've seen on TV. So I'm really excited to see what they can do with a bigger budget next season. I'm excited, man. Nice. I'll watch.
Mm.
Well, if we've got time before that second season comes out, then Britt and I will catch up.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, the main casting wise, I really hope that they bring out Steven Yeun. They need to bring him back to play.
Who is he?
He's
the bully.
He's the bully, right?
He's the bully, the gap whistle.
Oh gosh, yeah. Now that he's got his tooth back, I'm fine. But
don't worry, it comes out again.
That whole segment when he loses his tooth and he's whistling, no, pass.
Best part, it sounds nothing like Steven Yeun. Like nothing at all.
Really?
Because like trying to listen, I'm like that. No, Glenn. No, in here he doesn't pop up.
He sounds funny. Like Herbert the pervert from Family Guy.
Walking Dead is this weekend.
Yeah,
Ooh,
Sunday.
That just reminded me. I'm so excited. I know that's not animation.
Nice.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's totally fine.
Josh is a Walking Dead guy.
2 weeks ago, we just went on that whole entire tangent when I was trying to name as many movies that I could possibly could fit into everything. So everything got added.
Nice.
But yeah, I get to watch the premiere this weekend. Well, yesterday. So I got to watch the premiere. But next week we're recording something for anime, so I'm not going to be able to watch episode 2 until later, which kind of sucks.
Oh yeah, that's right. They were supposed to tweet or text you spoilers.
Yeah, everybody texts me spoilers, so I know. I'll be in the middle of a recording and be like, so how does...
Yeah, don't go on any social media.
Yeah.
No.
Seriously. That's hilarious. Well, let's talk about Hercules, how about?
Let's do it.
Finally go to the animation question.
Yeah, let's do it. So, I just want to ask everybody real quick, did everybody see this in the theater when it came out?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember.
Yes, I did. Because that was, 97?
97,
because Mulan was 98, and then Tarzan was 99.
I'm going to say I did because my parents took me to every Disney movie in the theater, but I can't remember doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also remember going to McDonald's and getting the Happy Meals, the cool snap together ones.
Nice.
It was pretty nifty.
Well, they did a huge marketing tour for this movie before the movie came out. They did a mall tour. And they took like a traveling amusement park almost to malls around the country. They had rides. They had a Pegasus carousel, and they had like a big stage show that they would do. They invested so much in the marketing of this movie that it was just incredible. I don't remember any of that. I didn't see any of it. I was in college at the time, and I don't know. I remember seeing it in the theater, but I don't remember any of the marketing. But everything I read about this movie in this week leading up to this referred back to this huge amount of marketing that Disney did for this particular movie. I don't know why they felt like they needed to market this one so heavily, but they did. Do you remember ever seeing anything like that, Josh?
No. The only thing I remember is just like the McDonald's toys.
Yeah,
and that's about it.
Just in certain cities or
well, they don't care about Oklahoma. Nothing ever comes.
I wasn't in Oklahoma either, but
you were in. Where were you? You in Utah?
At that time, I was in Phoenix, Arizona.
Well, no one cares about Arizona. No offense, Arizona.
Jeez, yeah. Don't listen to him, Arizona listeners.
I like that he says no offense to Arizona because he's not there.
Right.
But no offense to...
Exactly.
Yeah, it's Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah,
too
no,
bad.
I mean, this
Utah, too
yeah,
bad.
no one cares
Arizona.
about this place because it's windy and it sucks.
Well, this is another example of, the awesome partnership of Ron Clements and John Musker. I know you guys at Cloud City have talked about this duo a lot. They've just made so many masterpieces, and, their mark is all over this movie. They weren't the original directors slated to direct it, and they were actually already developing Treasure Planet at the time that this movie came up. And it was Jeffrey Katzenberger that basically denied them Treasure Planet and said, I'm not going to greenlight that until you guys give us one more hit comedy. That's what he wanted. Yeah. One more hit comedy. And boy, did they deliver. Because to me, this is probably top 1 or 2 funniest Disney movies in my book.
Yeah, without a doubt. In terms of just comic delivery, the voice cast. I mean, with James Woods as Hades, just him by himself kills it. And then when you add on
DeVito,
Danny DeVito, you have Rip Torn as Zeus. I mean, Tate Donovan, who was unknown to me at the time. We went on to see him in the OC as a live action person. He was a douche on that show, but in Hercules, even his comic timing was phenomenal. What's her name? Susan Egan.
Yeah,
as
Susan Egan.
Megara.
She was amazing.
Bobcat Goldthwait as Panic, right?
I think he was Pain.
He's Pain. He's Pain because Panic was the one with the horn sticking out of Pain's butt because he goes Pain, ow, and Panic. Yeah. So and Bobcat's from Syracuse. He's actually from the same city I'm from. So I mean,
cool.
Everybody in Syracuse loves Bobcat.
Nice. Yeah, he's awesome. I like him too. Yeah, no, that cast is amazing. They did such a good job. Like you said, James Woods he's transcendent in this film. He's so good. The original choice that they had for Hades was Jack Nicholson.
Oh,
and that would have been a very, very different performance. They actually they offered him $500,000, $500K to do it. He countered with $15 million and 50% of the merchandising.
Oh,
and
wow.
that said no.
And then they offered it to James Wood, and he was like, "I'll do it for a bag of M&Ms." And they were like, "All right,
piece of candy."
Piece of candy.
Piece of candy.
Well, actually, they went through a ton of other people. They actually had John Lithgow, in the role for 9 months working on it, and they decided at some point that it just wasn't working, so they booted him, and they went through a bunch of other people. They had James Coburn was trying out for it, Phil Hartman tried out for it, Martin Landau, and it wasn't until very late in the process that James Woods came in. He basically just improv'd an interview and just slayed it, just cracked up all the directors, and they're like, yes, that's what we need to do. He's the one that kind of took that character in the direction that it goes.
And they let him do a whole lot of ad-libbing for that, similar to what Robin Williams did in Aladdin. They pretty much just let him do him, and then they just plugged it in.
Yeah, and it totally works. I mean, he's way up there on my villains list. He's so good, man.
And it's funny, too, because when you think about it, he's a villain that doesn't have a song, but you don't care. The whole time you're watching that film, you're not thinking, well, how come Hades doesn't have a song? You're literally like, he doesn't need one. He's fine.
Yeah, I agree. And we've talked about that on our show before. It is one of those ones that, lacks a villain song. You don't have Poor Unfortunate Souls or Be Prepared, some of those great ones like that. But, yeah, in his case, it's unnecessary. So I'm glad they were smart enough to recognize that and not force him to sing a song.
And I love this self-referential when the three, what are they called? The
Fates.
The Fates.
Oh,
Fates, when they go to do the verse, and he goes, "Oi, verse, oi."
Yeah.
Even him just saying that, you're just like, that's why he doesn't need a song, because he would laugh himself out of the song while singing.
Oh gosh,
it.
yeah.
Exactly. So, you guys watched it last night, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we watched
fabulous
it.
VHS.
Yeah,
Heck
VHS,
yeah.
Impressive. That's awesome. How many Disney movies you guys have on VHS right now?
50, 58, 60, something like that.
Are you serious?
Well,
do you also have them on DVD, or do you
Some
just
of
have
them.
them on VHS?
Some of them. Now that they've been doing the DVD Blu-ray releases, we've been picking those up. But like random ones we already had, like Tarzan.
I'll have to.
We had on DVD.
Yeah, well, I'll take a picture of it and I'll try to post it at some point. I think I've posted it before, but no, this is my childhood collection. Like, I've had all of the VHS movies, and I was lucky enough. I just told Liam earlier today, I was like, thank goodness my parents didn't sell these in a yard sale. I would be so bummed today, because that's where you find a lot of them today, is at thrift stores or yard sales, because nobody cares about them anymore.
Yeah.
But I would have been so sad.
We're like the only ones, and that's funny because like we have that's just the clamshell. That doesn't include all of like the other just regular VHS that we also have. We probably have at least another like 80 regular VHS. Oh yeah, no, we're big collectors when it comes to that stuff, because there's certain movies where you go, that's not worth paying $10 for DVD, but that's worth paying 50 cents on a VHS.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm just wondering if I could walk into a Best Buy right now and find a VCR.
You have to get the DVD VCR combo. I have a VCR that I've had for years that randomly sometimes won't take a VHS, and that's the one that we have downstairs. So you have to put it in and let it eject it a couple times. And then upstairs, a couple years ago, I think Brittany's parents bought us a DVD VHS combo.
Yep.
So we have one upstairs and downstairs.
Wow. That's old school, kids.
Hey, we don't mess around, man.
As Liam was playing Super Nintendo last night.
I was playing NBA Jam on Super Nintendo last night, and then earlier today we just found a 1959 Pinocchio vinyl soundtrack that we just bought for $3.95.
Sweet.
Yeah, so we are the old school.
That's awesome. Well, so it's cool that we all got to watch this, within the last 24 hours. So it's all super fresh in our minds. One thing that I've found interesting while doing this podcast is watching things with a critical eye, changes my concept of a lot of these movies. So did you guys, like, going into this, did you guys kind of come out the other end of this with any new opinions on Hercules, or is it kind of just in the same space in your mind as it always has been?
Yeah, I don't know, B. What do you think?
I think for me it's the same. There was a movie I just watched that I was like, oh, wow, I don't feel the same way about that movie that I used to. But no, with most Disney movies, I don't ever look past the nostalgia feeling that I get when I pop in a Disney movie. It's just something about it that Disney does that completely takes me out of what's happening, and I just go to my childhood, and I enjoy it for the Disney movie that it always was, and it always will be. So, I don't know. It might be different for you, Liam. I don't know.
I'd say now I watch Remy watch the movie, and I like to gauge his reaction to see how, like, somebody seeing it with fresh eyes, with new eyes, especially with like youthful eyes, makes a difference. And especially when it's movies that, if he's playing or doing something, like he has all these Marvel Titan characters and he'll have them fight, or he loves balloons and he'll be hitting balloons around the room, but something will happen and he'll turn and like laser focus into the movie and just stand there watching it for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then when it kind of lulls a little bit, he'll go back to playing again. So it's kind of cool to gauge his reaction to things. But it's funny that you mentioned that, because definitely last night while we're watching it, I remember thinking in my head, this is probably the funniest Disney movie. And so it's funny that you brought that up, because when really, even in comparison to the other ones in the Renaissance, when you'd think like Robin Williams in Aladdin, he's super funny, but the movie in its entirety isn't really like a super funny movie, not in the same way that Hercules is. I think after Hercules, Aladdin might be the next funniest film out of the Disney catalog, but Hercules is like head and shoulders above the rest. What about
for me? I agree. Yeah, I agree with the comedy as compared to Aladdin. Although I think I might put Emperor's New Groove as the funniest.
Yes,
that's true.
Because that one slays me every time. I love that one.
And the fact that so much of it is like just for characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just Cusco and Pancha, and then
Pancha.
Yzma and Kronk.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
it.
Thinking about it now, Emperor's New Groove is definitely the funniest Disney movie.
Yeah.
You think that's funnier than Hercules?
I think it's way funnier than Hercules.
I think they're 1 and 2. Maybe it's like 1 and 1A. They're really close.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Josh? I know you hate everything that's magical and fun.
Yeah, you know. Watching this movie again, I definitely know where, Gavin, like where you're talking about, like where, you know, you start trying to look at things so you can kind of break it down,
with a critical eye.
We were talking, when it was just us, and we were talking earlier about the CG elements in it. I've always hated the Hydra scene, just because it's trash.
Yeah, it stands out.
But all the other things that you were saying, I was like, nope, didn't get any of that. Because maybe it's like the nostalgia.
Yeah.
But like I'm like, still looking at it like with kind of like a critical eye, but like I'm not seeing all this CG stuff that you were talking about, and I was just like, oh no, I didn't notice that. It was, but maybe also, you know, because I always know that's the worst part of this movie, so my mind already has it in that's the worst part of this movie. The rest of it's fine, so I can kind of overlook some of the little stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't see anything other than that I had any problems with.
That's one of the things that is always distracting to me when I watch animated movies is when they try to use 2D animation and CG animation, and they try to marry those two things together. And it's a very difficult thing. I don't envy them that, but you know, movies that we've talked about on the show, like Boy and the Beast, did such an amazing job at doing that. And of course, that's, you know, 20 years later almost.
Right.
And they're more able to do that now, but at the time in the 90s, you know, starting with Beauty and the Beast, really, and going all the way through Tarzan, the CG just leaps out of the screen at me. It sticks out like a sore thumb, and it doesn't really blend with the rest of the textures and colors and, you know, just design feel of the rest of the movie. So they do just kind of leap off the screen to me, and that really is my only major criticism of Hercules is, you know, in particular the Hydra scene. But then anytime we see, you know, Hades' River of Souls, all of the souls under the water, it's clearly CG, and they don't quite look the same as everything else to me. And then a lot of the crowd scenes you may not notice, but I'm always looking at stuff like this, and there'd be like traffic, like chariot traffic, and it's basically the same freaking chariot just going by like on a computer program, just bing, 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 bing. And it's like, okay, I get it. It's a crowd. You don't have time to animate everything, but yeah, you know, so things like that. It's like I wish, because Disney puts so much attention in the details, I want them to put the attention into every single detail. You know, we're all spoiled by great animation, and I just want it to be like just so perfect. And sometimes it's hard for me to let some of those things go. And so that's the only thing that when I watch that movie today, like looking at it critically, really kind of is problematic for me, because, you know, I don't know why they had to do a computer generated animation of the Hydra. I feel like that could have easily been just animated. Like the Titans weren't CG, they were hand drawn, so I don't know why that had to be CG. And I think in a lot of times in the 90s, it was like, oh, we have this new toy, we want to play with it, and they didn't really always, I feel, check themselves and say, well, should we in this case? Is it good enough? Is it to a point where it'll, you know, flow seamlessly into it? Now, people like my wife, she can't see the difference in any of that. Like, she can't tell that the ballroom scene in Beauty and the Beast is CG with a couple of 2D characters, you know, dancing in the middle of it. Like, her eyes don't see that. And then that may be what the majority experiences. I don't know. But for me, it leaps off the screen.
Well, it's like with the Cave of Wonders in Aladdin. Same thing. Yeah. Like where the CGI that they used on that was a stark contrast to everything else in that film.
Right.
And it's funny that while you were talking about that, I was thinking back to the dance sequence in Aristocats when they go to like the Jazz Cat's house and like they're all dancing. If the actual dance moves that they use, they recycled those same
From
frames
Baloo.
for Baloo dancing, and then they used it in Robin Hood as well.
Oh yeah.
During Down with the Phony King of England. So I always.
Isn't that Phil Harris in all of those roles?
Yeah,
too?
in all of those roles, it's always been Phil Harris. So,
That's
because
amazing.
I think that's part of his. That was part of his reasoning to ever come back, because he was a big band leader. That's what he did. He did like radio and big band. So he was like, I need big dance numbers in the films. He's like, if I'm going to be in it, there needs to be a dance number. Like that was just what he wanted. So Disney is not above recycling things. So and I'm sure, as you said, like CGI was a new toy for them, and they just hadn't perfected it. I mean, even if you go back and watch the first Toy Story film, and you look at like Molly or even Andy, you're just like, and Sid, you're like, why do you all look so creepy? So there's, I mean, they definitely had not perfected the technology, and I think they were just excited that this is a new toy. The only other bit that bothers me in Hercules is when he grabs the Tornado Titan, sucks up the other guys, and he goes to swing them around his head, and then they do a close up on him, and they like slow mo as he like swings it and throws it, but it looks like they had a sketch that they never finished cleaning up. So it looks like the worst bit of 2D animation like in any of the Renaissance. I always cringe in that scene. I go, why did they feel a close-up was necessary?
That kind of reminds me, it's only like a second and a half shot, and I know the shot you're talking about, but it always reminds me of some of the slow motion action in the fight at Pride Rock in Lion King.
Yes.
When they go into slow-mo. And most of that looks awesome, but there's a couple moments where it looks like kind of that blurry, like skippy kind of motion that you're talking about. And I don't know if there was somebody at the studio at the time that had, like, was their technique, like, oh, we got to do this slow-mo thing, we can use it here again. I don't know, but I agree, it's kind of a weird spot.
It was Zack Snyder, and then we saw 300, and we're like, now we understand.
Well, it was the like one of the Wachowskis was an intern, so they're like, let's put the slow mo fight in there. It'll look cool.
Let's bullet time Simba's fight with Scar. That makes sense.
Exactly. Well, you mentioned the Aristocrats and Phil Harris and music and all that, so that's a good segue into the soundtrack for this movie. You guys may remember, but one of our early episodes, we ranked our top Disney soundtracks, and both Josh and I ranked this as our favorite Disney soundtrack.
Oh, I believe
What do you guys think about this music?
I think it's on our top 5 as well.
Yeah,
I
for
can't
sure.
remember if it's my number 2 or 3, but I feel like it's up there. It's on the low, higher half of, I guess you'd say.
Because there's not a bad song. At all.
The muses alone are amazing.
I would put any of those songs like on top 40 radio, like today, like not even in 97. I would do it today, and like when you think of, like you said, the muses, all of those songs, Zero to Hero for sure is just like a tip top song, and then Where I Belong, the song that he sings when they do kind of the montage, the transition. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the band Taking Back Sunday, but they actually borrowed the main melody line of that for the beginning part of their chorus. Da, 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 da. They pretty much stole that melody for one of their songs off of New Again.
Oh, cool.
And it's so, every time I hear that, I will sing Hercules, not their lyrics, because that's how catchy it is, and that's how wonderful the soundtrack was, and especially in an era where music was king for those Renaissance films.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To have a soundtrack that can still stand above and beyond what had already come before it, and then also what you had in Mulan, which was still a great soundtrack, and then for Tarzan, they had freaking Phil Collins. Like, how do you top Phil Collins? But somehow they did it. So without a doubt, like that soundtrack is top. Top shelf.
Like we just adore it. I think Meg's song is one of the best like love songs in the Disney canon. You know, it's funny because there aren't really that many what I would consider love songs in Disney movies. There are lots of scores over like romantic moments, but there's not a ton of love songs, but to me, I feel like that's probably my favorite one.
Are we talking Renaissance love songs
about the
or
entire Disney canon?
Well, Tangled.
I mean, there are examples, but I just feel
Aladdin
like you would think with all the love stories and fairy tales, there'd be a lot more love songs, but there really aren't.
No, I think you're right, because when you think like Snow White has it where she's like, I'm waiting for the one I love, but it's more of like a longing. It's not she's singing to somebody specific. She's just singing in general. And then Cinderella, I know you, or not Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, I know you. I've dreamt of you once upon a dream. Right. Which then the prince comes in and sings the duet with her, but still, like, it's like a lead in. This is in my recollection, this is the first time this is like a forlorn love song where she is trying to deny the love that she feels, and we haven't really had that before.
Yep. No, that's exactly what I was going to say. You were still in my thought.
Is there a love song? They don't sing a love song in Little Mermaid, do they? I mean, it's the fish trying to.
Kiss the
they're
girl.
like, hey, the fish are like, hey, kiss her.
Yeah, it's like the Sebastian is wooing on her behalf. So he's kind of singing
it's like she's mute and he's an idiot.
Which quick tangent on that one. Brittany and I still crack up when Prince Eric is trying to guess her name, and Sebastian goes, Ariel, her name is Ariel, and he goes, Ariel? And I'm like, why would you say it? He just told you how to pronounce it, and then you said it the most white guy way you could ever say. Ariel?
And that's how we.
Well, it's like Kevin Costner.
No one says Ariel. Her name is Ariel.
It's like Kevin Costner in not Princess Bride, in Prince of Thieves, and he's like, Mariah. You're like, no.
I'm the only guy here that's not going to fake a British accent. Even freaking Christian Slater's going to try one.
That's funny. I like that movie.
So for you guys, like I know Josh specifically. I know like a love story is kind of it's very important for you. You know, like a lot of the anime that you watch, the ones that kind of stand out a little bit more is ones that have a solid love story, or at least a love connection between two characters. How do you feel that like Hercules and Meg's love story kind of competes with some of the other Disney canon, or even some of the other anime that you've been a fan of?
Well, I mean, I can't really compare it to anime, because with anime you have usually like a series, so you have multiple episodes where your two characters will slowly start falling in love. Right. My only problem with the Disney stuff is they literally meet and they're in love with each other.
Right. There's
no progression of time or anything like that. So I mean, I like this love story. I mean, it's okay. I mean, I'm not gonna like step on it, but it's just one of those where it's like it's love at first sight.
Oh, for sure.
And then she's like, nah, it's all right. I mean, you know, look at me. Have you seen my body? I can get whatever I want. And then they go, and she's like, oh yeah, I think I like him. You're like, oh, what changed? Like between the 5 minutes that.
Right. I mean, I think they do show, you know, like Liam mentioned a minute ago, you know, they show that struggle that she has where she kind of falls for him, but then she's like, no, I can't get into this.
Because she's been burned before. Like, Hades brings up the fact that the reason he owns her soul is because she was in love.
Right, and she's kind of trapped in this deal, so she knows she's going to have to hurt him. So, you know, she's trying to disentangle herself from that. But then we have, like, great moments along the way where she's, you know, kind of struggling with this, but then we have great visual like jokes and puns, like when she backs into that statue of Cupid and the little arrow pokes her and she does a double take. I love moments like that, and this movie is filled with things like it.
Yeah.
And you know, so for me this is one of the best Disney love stories, I think, because it's a clear, you know, romance, and you know, there's heroic things on behalf of that romance that happen, and I don't know, I think it's great. It's not always my top requirement for a story, but I love it when it happens.
Real quick, before we get to you guys, what's up with this Easy A BS? Like, she has this boyfriend who, like, dumps her for somebody else.
Right.
Like in Easy A, have you seen Easy A?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and she's like, none of the boys like me because I'm just this nerdy. Like, no, you're freaking Emma Stone. I mean, everybody wants you.
I didn't get that vibe from this though.
Well, I mean, no, I'm talking about the schmuck that dumped her.
Yeah,
kind of an idiot. I was like, dude, really?
Yeah. Who'd you? Some people really do always feel like the grass is greener on the other side of the road.
It's really
they
sad.
just always want the next thing that comes along.
Well, think about
and those
celebrities.
Are the people
think about
that you
celebrities.
cut out of your life.
Like, I remember the whole Brad Pitt, Jennifer Aniston, Angelina Jolie. Like, I prefer Angelina Jolie over Jennifer Aniston, but so many people were like, who leaves Jennifer Aniston? Especially for Angelina Jolie, like people that weren't a fan of her to begin with. So, I mean, you even have celebrities where it's just like, you know, you don't know the behind the scenes
Taylor
machinations.
Swift can't figure it out, man.
Taylor Swift just wants to
dates
date Hollywood, so she's good. I think that's kind of that. I think for this, obviously, it makes it more tragic for Meg because, like Gavin was saying, is like she has this duality to her persona, because it's like she could easily fall in love with Hercules, but she kind of is talking herself out of it. And then once you get to that song, the whole final line, at least out loud, I won't say I'm in love. You're just like, that literally encapsulates everything that we had learned about her character up to that point. And I think that's what makes it even better. And I mean, we'll talk about this a little bit, I'm sure, as we get a little bit further in. But I was going to say, when you think about John Musker and Ron Clements, the love stories that they put into all of their films, I feel are always the best love stories. Like Little Mermaid's love story is great. Like the fact that she will go mute just to get legs to try to get him to fall in love with her. And then with
Hercules
Aladdin,
goes mortal.
Yeah, Hercules goes mortal. Aladdin and Jasmine fall in love at first sight, but he literally has to regain her love under a different persona. Like, he has already gotten her to fall in love with him, but he didn't know that. And now she thinks he's dead, and he has to try to convince her as a completely different person to fall in love with him again. And then even looking at, like, Princess and the Frog, that love story where it's like neither one of them want to be in love with each other at all. And then we get to the end and you just go, holy crap, they both want to be in love. That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. They're kind of the love story duo.
Yeah. Oh, hands down. Which was so interesting for Moana to not have a love story at all. Because I was almost like, you go into it expecting that of them because they are like master craftsmen. But now they've shown like, what up, bros? We can do anything. I'm like, all right, we believe you.
Yeah, exactly. That shows their wisdom as directors, because I think we would all agree that a love story was not necessary in that movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think that would have taken away from it.
Well, how creepy would it have been if it was like Maui crushing on Moana? You would have been like, all right, this is a little bit weird.
Yeah, I don't know. That would have been over the top. But even if they had like somebody from her village, you know, that was, you know, impressed by this, you know,
pining after
there
her.
There were some pretty decent looking islanders on that village.
Sure,
yeah,
I'm sure somebody likes her.
Did you check out Moana's mama? Dang, girl.
I was thinking
hilarious.
her father, but okay.
Yeah, her dad. Her dad's pretty
Cheap
smoking.
Dewey.
Plus, it's Tamora Morrison, so you're like, I know what you look like in real life, boy.
Django Fett.
Yeah, Django.
So one of the things that they also, you know, used as influence for this movie was, you know, they took a lot of cues from Aladdin, and they, you know, used tons of pop culture references and, you know, things that were signs of the time in the late 90s. You know, we talked about the Muses a little while ago. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but basically the hottest girl band in the world in 1997, the Spice Girls, were the original choice that Disney wanted to play the Muses.
How
and
funny.
That too would have made for a very different feel to this, because they wouldn't have been bringing gospel.
It's all be pop.
Whatever Mencken wanted to write, he wasn't going to write gospel for the Spice Girls. I don't think that would have carried.
No,
that would have been a completely different film.
I was a huge Spice Girls fan, but holy crap, I would not have wanted their voices as the Muses.
Yeah, I mean, there's you know, all kinds of stories about how the studio wanted the Beatles to do the music for the Jungle Book.
Yeah, that's why
in 1967. Yeah, they were like, well, we got to do something with this British invasion because they're everywhere. Yeah. But again, you know, you guys know I'm a huge Beatles fan, but I don't see that as something that would have worked. That's not a good mix to me, and I think the same applies to the Spice Girls. I dig the Spice Girls. Their music is fun and catchy, but I don't think it would have worked in this scenario.
No.
So I'm glad they went the direction they did. The other thing that they really keyed in on was
Charlton Heston as the opening narrator.
Yeah, he was awesome. But no, the whole worship of sports stars and merchandising and all of that, and a lot of that was keyed on none other than Michael Jordan. He was at the height of his popularity in 1997. And they make reference to the Air Hurt shoes or sandals that he has, and all the merchandising that went into that.
Well, like Gatorade being a big drink at the time, and like they've got the big sippy cup, and he's drinking out of it looks like a column, like all little things like that.
Which McDonald's released.
Well, which Brittany was like, I had that cup. I wish I still did.
I'm pretty sure that's one thing my parents did sell in a yard sale.
Oh man. Yeah, so I mean, even the Gatorade thing, Michael Jordan's campaign of "I want to be like Mike," that was a commercial for 8 years in the '90s. They played that commercial. It was like nonstop. So I think it's interesting that they really keyed in on a lot of those, pop culture and contemporary things to show us what this celebrity in ancient Greece, the equivalent to that. And I think that's really funny. And it provided them a lot of fodder for jokes and references. And, I just feel like this movie is so full of just little tidbits. There's also a lot of things that are, that don't belong, but they work as jokes because people don't really think about it. Like when the kids are trapped under the rock, one of the kids says, somebody call IXII, which is 911. But in Roman numerals. We're in ancient Greece. We're not in ancient Rome. So, things like that don't fit. But it's a hilarious joke. And when you watch it the first time, you're like, oh, that's great. It's 911. You don't even think about it. Yeah. So they were clever, and they were using just tons of ancient references and jokes and puns and things like that. And, I think they pulled it off really well. And the fact, you mentioned before that they let James Woods do a lot of improv like Robin Williams had done as the genie. I mean, this movie just seems so off the cuff and funny that I'm just entertained by it every time I watch it.
Well, yeah, when Tate Donovan says, when he's talking to Zeus that second time, and he's like, I grappled with the Gorgon, just like Bill Pullman. Like, just little things like that where you're just like, you're funny, boy. So I think that's to me, is the hallmark of what John Musker and Ron Clements bring to the table, because even as far back as when they did Great Mouse Detective, there's a point where they kind of zoom up above to the actual 221B Baker Street, and you see a silhouette of Holmes and Watson, and Watson says something like, "But the opera is so boring," and they actually used audio clips of the actors that had played them in a live action TV show and just plugged it in. So little things like that, like they are very smart about, as you said, incorporating pop culture and what's relevant. But even now, when we go back and watch it, it's still funny because we still have like the idolatry of athletic figures. So you can still see that and go, oh, well, that makes sense because we still do that crap.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. So do we want to go ahead and give this movie our ratings?
Oh, for sure.
I think we can.
You want to do it? All right. So guests first?
Yeah.
All right, you guys take it away.
And you have to come up with like a thing too.
Yeah, come up with a rating out of clouds or.
Oh, we do clouds.
Yeah, we do clouds.
It's clouds over here.
I couldn't remember if you always did the same thing or not.
Yeah, typically we do the clouds.
Cool.
It's a castle.
Unless
in
you
the
want
cloud.
to do like your how many second stars to the right?
Oh, I like
Stars to the right.
That's a good one. I like that.
that. Works
Because
too.
that's because you're the big Peter Pan fan, even though Josh and Gavin are not fans.
Whatever. I gave it a 3.5.
I gave it a 2.
I'm sorry. Anything less than a 5 is unacceptable for Peter Pan. Oh, and I forgot to nag you guys about that. Tiger Lily, the only line that she has is she says "help" while drowning.
So
she does?
Nice.
Was that Tinkerbell?
No. It's Tiger
Same
Lily.
actress?
Like as the water's coming up, you can kind of hear her go "help," and then it kind of gurgles at the end because the tide splashes up. So that's the only line that Tiger Lily says in all of Peter Pan.
But is it the same voice actress as Tinkerbell though?
I'm guessing because, like, are you going to hire a voice actress for literally like half
no
of
lines.
one word? You know?
Yeah.
I would.
That's
You
funny.
can't say all of the word help, but just like HEL. Help
I would hope that was somebody that just worked on the movie.
On the movie, yeah, you would think so.
Right. Yeah.
It
some
was
animator or
one of the
something.
secretaries. They were like, Mary, come in here.
Yeah.
Say help.
But we're not paying you for this.
Yeah,
So.
It's like, get back to work.
Just so
Nice.
you know. Do you want to start, ladies first?
You could start.
Okay, I'm going to give it a solid 5. Hercules has been and will always be one of my favorite films. Not just out of the Renaissance era, but all across the Disney canon. It is definitely one of those, whether it's on TV or if it's on Netflix, like I will put it on and sit and watch it because it's just like all the reasons we talked about, and I'm with you even with like the kind of bizarre CGI in the Hydra scene. It's still a great scene. So if they had 2D animated it, yes, it would have been better. But the scene itself is still enjoyable. I mean, him sliding down one of the necks and going, I don't think we cover this in training. Like, just little things like that. It's so funny. So, like, from the voice acting, the animation, the jokes, the music, 5 clouds, solid.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right, so I'm going to mirror you because it's a 5 for me, too.
5 second stars to the right.
Yeah, no shock there. Anything out of the Renaissance was brilliant.
Yeah.
I think that was, other than probably the 50s, I think that was
a
Disney's
solid
like
era.
prime time, like making movies. That was their way to show that, like, hey, we're Disney and we're a company that is going to stay around forever.
Yeah.
We've been around since the 20s, 30s, and we are going to continue to make these hits, for you guys. And they still do. Like today, Tangled was the 50th animated film, and even after Tangled, the 4 that has followed are still amazing.
Yeah.
So I think Hercules it just fit perfectly into the Renaissance. The music, the soundtrack is A+.
Yeah.
The voice acting, the animation itself. I think about that Hydra scene, and I can't think of what I thought when I was younger and watching it, but I don't think I thought it like stuck out like a sore thumb because back then you were excited to see something new.
Oh, that's true.
Like when Toy Story came out, everybody was excited for that technology, and nobody knew anything to compare it to. So I don't think anything was wrong with it. Today, there's definitely something wrong with it.
More noticeable.
But I don't know. Everything about Hercules, amazing.
I was going to say, I think in the Renaissance, the only 2 stumbles for me are Pocahontas and Hunchback. I think those are the only 2 that don't quite measure up.
Maybe because they're a little too real.
That might be it. Maybe it is a little bit too non-comedic, like it is too serious.
Yep.
So those may be
Notre
the only
Dame
ones that
is
they're not quite as much fun.
Yep.
And because I had read Hunchback of Notre Dame, I kind of expected a certain story and didn't get that story, and then
an even darker story.
An even darker story. But then also knowing the story of Pocahontas and being like, why is she not an 11-year-old girl? Oh, because we have to sexify her and make her a woman. I get it. It makes sense. At the time, as a kid, I was just like, oh, this is cool. I like it. So but I think for the Renaissance, but even as the Renaissance is a measuring stick, Hercules is still like one of the best. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I want to go next.
Do it.
So I'm going to give this one 5 Dipper Pines.
Yay!
Nice.
Basically the same reason. I mean,
Perfect score so far.
Don't ruin it,
Pressure's
Gavin.
on.
Yeah, how's it gonna happen, Gavin? I mean, it's funny. The music is fantastic. The voice acting's great. I mean, there's really, like I said, the only thing that I have problems with is that Hydra scene. Other than that, I have no qualms about anything else in the movie. Kind of going with what Liam said, though, with Hercules, the whole time I'm thinking of like the Greek mythology that's running around in my head. I'm like, if they get married, he's going to kill their kids. And I'm like, Hera's all like, oh, Hercules. I'm like, no, she hates you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, we saw the Hercules live action show. We know that Hera does not like Hercules.
She wants you dead, man. And it's like, no.
You got 12 trials.
They studied all of the, Edith Hamilton and the Bullfinch mythology, and they originally were going to go for the actual story of Hercules, and the thing that really tipped the balance that they said, no, we kind of need to make this our own story, was the fact that he was born out of an illegitimate relationship. Yeah.
Well, that's why he's not immortal, because his mom's a human.
Right. And so that's why they decided to take it a different direction, because they didn't want to have to deal with that issue. And so, that led them down really the whole path that they ended up taking, and it worked, man.
Well, they kind of flipped the Achilles story, like whereas Achilles, when they dipped him in
like to put a bunch of
the
stuff.
water, he was impervious up except for his heel. But with Hercules, it's like he was all mortal except for that one drop, which was why he was still super strong and everything. So
and they mix him with Orpheus too.
Oh yeah,
there's all kinds of mixing and matching.
Because he's like, I gotta go back to Hades to get my girlfriend.
Yeah.
But at least Hercules gets her. So unlike something else, it didn't work out.
not so
all
much.
right. Well, I have voiced my criticism.
Hey guys, Gavin's going to be the downer. I just want to give everybody a heads up.
Way to end it on a low note.
Josh and I talked about our ratings before this started, so I think that's why he wanted to jump in and throw in his perfect 5 before I went. But just really looking at this critically and considering it, all the criteria, I think that despite the animation issues that I have, this movie triumphs in absolutely every other way. The music, as we've all mentioned, top notch. The animation design, the character design, the story, all of it is amazing. So I'm giving it a 5 out of 5.
You bandwagon jumper. You were like, I'm going to give it a 4.
No, I thought about it long and hard during this whole conversation. I thought, everything else is enough to overcome ultimately the minor criticisms I have of it. This movie is fantastic. It surprisingly stands so tall amongst those titanic, no pun intended, Renaissance movies of the 90s, because, you just think of movies like Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Lion King, and, these movies are just so instantly iconic and classic and legendary. And then, along comes a funny screwball comedy called Hercules, and it's just as good as those other movies. It's just... It's a surprising hit to me, and I think it deserves all the acclaim that it gets.
Agreed.
Nice.
And that was interesting, because that was something we didn't really cover that much, was the stylistic decisions that they made in animating, like everything from like the clouds of dust to like the way that like his ears and his elbows were drawn, especially when he was younger, and like more gangly and awkward, like the way the calf muscles were drawn.
Thicker calves,
there was a very stylistic decision on this one, and then similarly they went very stylistic when they did Mulan. So I thought that was very cool that they didn't just stick to like the same style they had kind of accumulated in the years prior. So, but that's awesome, man. Like I'm honestly surprised that everybody gave it a 5 out of 5. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's cool that we all got together to talk about it, and because it's all something that we clearly love and have tons of nostalgia about. So that's what it's all about, man.
Heck yeah.
Hey, we didn't talk about how adorable Pegasus is.
Oh my gosh.
Cutest horse thingy ever.
Yeah, baby Pegasus is just a awesome little nugget that you want to just take home with you. Mm-hmm. And adult Pegasus we've talked about it on our show before. He's one of our favorite Disney horses.
Oh yeah.
And they do a lot of really cool horses.
Was he your guys' on your top flyers list? Was he there?
He was my number 1.
That's right.
It
was your number 1.
Yeah. He was honorable mention for me.
Yeah. No, but I'm with you, because with Pegasus, and I know a complaint you guys have sometimes is when horses take on too much of a dog-like quality. And I thought that they didn't really do that so much with Pegasus. They kind of made him just... If anything, he had more human qualities than anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he seemed more aware of everything. Like, when you look at, like, the Prince Philip's horse in, like, Sleeping Beauty, where he's very much just, like, a horse, and he acts the way that a horse pretty much would act.
Yes.
Whereas, like, in Tangled, Maximus is very much a dog horse, but
he's awesome.
Like, Pegasus, when Meg first gets on him and she's like, I have a fear of flying, and he immediately takes off as fast as he can. And then when they land, and she's like, "Get me down before I ruin the upholstery," and he kind of like hip checks her off.
Yeah, he's like jealous of their connections.
So I dig that.
Yep.
Yeah, they did a great job with him.
Or the helicopter wings when he has Phil on him and they catch Hercules before he kisses.
Yeah, it's cool.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those movies that we could honestly talk all night about. We go on and on about all the amazing things about it.
But we can't because we have a top 5 to get through.
Yes, excellent. I think it's time we start dropping our top 5s.
And now for another top 5.
Time for the top 5. So this week, we decided to do our top 5 animated romantic gestures.
I think this is going to be a broad spectrum here.
Which I was about to say, we had a whole long conversation last night of what constituted a romantic gesture, and then it got to the point we were just like, all right, if it seems nice, then it works.
Yeah, I think we're going to have some interesting things here. I'm excited about this one.
Spoiler, mine's going to be anime.
So how about we do this?
Ours are all Disney.
Yeah. No, I tried to mix it up and tried to think of like some DreamWorks stuff or like some anime especially.
Yeah.
But a lot of the anime that I enjoyed was not, there wasn't a lot of romance stuff in it. So it was like I would really have been reaching and I would have been doing it just to try to shoehorn it in. So I was like, I'm just going to go for the ones that make the most sense to me, the ones that popped out.
Yeah, me too. I couldn't think of any television examples.
Yeah.
But,
I didn't either.
But I'm not the television guy, so nobody's surprised by that.
Dude, you didn't like in Rugrats All Grown Up when Kimmy confesses, like they go back in time and you have that Kimmy wrote, Tommy and Kimmy in the cement in the Finster household?
Yeah, clearly I'm not
okay.
aware of that, yeah. All right, so Josh, what order do you think we should go in here? Should we go?
Let's do the clouds and then
the clouds
me and you.
Then the asps.
Yes, we're the snake. Like Globo Gym.
All right, we can do that. You guys want to kick it off?
Yeah, we'll be good.
All right.
Cool.
You
I'll
start?
start it. So, my number 5 is from that old animated film. Well, not that old. It's in the 90s. Beauty and the Beast. So,
nice.
Since the live action is coming up, I have been watching the old animated one because I'm trying to get myself pumped for it, and I am super pumped. So my gesture is the Beast. So the Beast setting Belle free, I think, is a huge romantic gesture because he finally is learning to love somebody other than himself. And whether that be in a romantic way or just a love for somebody else just for the sake of loving, he learned that. So he finally decides to let her free. He gives her his mirror that he loves because he loves to look at himself, and he can look at whatever he wants to. He gives him his most prized possession other than the rose, because I don't know if he really cares about the rose. He wishes it's not there.
I'm going to say it's just a reminder of, hey, you used to be a huge jerk.
But I think the mirror is something that means more to him, and he decides to give it to her to look at what she wants to look at, whether that be him or her father or maybe the other guys in the castle. I don't know. So I thought that was a pretty romantic gesture.
Nice. Good one. I like it.
Cool.
All right. So for my number 5 is from a Goofy movie. And
whoa!
It's got to be because this was one I definitely related to as a kid because it was something I was like, I would have loved to have pulled this off.
Yep.
Is the whole journey that Max goes on with Goofy to reach a Powerline concert just so he can try to get on stage and impress a girl back home.
Yep.
So it's like
that's awesome. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, she
forgot that the Goofy movie
obviously
was a thing.
She already likes him. Like we could kind of already get that impression, but he felt the need to try to go above and beyond, and then he had to try to own up to it. And then even though he owned up to it, still at the end he still owns up to her. Hey, I didn't know Powerline before the concert. I understand, if you're mad at me about this. And like, I just think that's the greatest romantic gesture that you would ever expect from like a Goofy movie of all films.
Right.
So
nice, good pick. All right, well, my number 5 is from classic Disney. I'm going all the way back to the 50s. For me, this is just iconic. the prince searching the countryside for the girl who fits the glass slipper. That to me, he was just gobsmacked from moment one, and she runs off, and he's like, nope, I'm not letting this drop. I have to find this girl. She's the one. And he searches high and low for her until he finds her. And to me, that's just classic romanticism right there.
Yep.
So,
I like it.
Cinderella. All right, Josh, you're up.
Oh, man. Okay. I was trying to do reference material.
Right.
But for my number 5, I ventured into the world of anime.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, and I showed this clip to you earlier, and I was trying to find a picture to send to those two.
Mm-hmm.
But I went with a show called Black Lagoon, and I went with the Rock and Revy shared cigarette kiss.
It was kind of a cigarette kiss.
Yeah.
Basically, one is getting a light of their cigarette off of the other's cigarette, but they keep them in their mouths the whole time, and the sexual tension was palpable.
Oh my gosh, you could cut it with a knife.
Yeah. So yeah, the cigarette kiss. Josh goes dark again.
There you go, Liam.
Nice.
Have fun with that.
I dig it. That's cool.
I like it. Good one. All right, Brittany, back to you.
All right. So number 4, out of Disney again. Tangled.
Nice.
So
Ooh.
Flynn Rider, basically he's doing his whole take Rapunzel to the town because he wants to get the tiara back, but during that he's finding that he's falling in love with her, and so since the whole thing is to take her to see the floating lights, he made sure she had the very best seats, and that was on the lake, and he also surprises her with 2 lanterns, and that is just so romantic. I wished we could have done a lantern release during our wedding, but it was during the day, so that would have been silly.
Yeah.
But yes, I don't know. I think Tangled is super romantic.
Best date night ever.
Ever, love it.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the most beautiful scenes
Oh, and the
in
song
animation.
that we get out of it is probably one of my top love songs from Disney.
Totally. Good pick.
Cool.
Number 4 for me was from Disney's Robin Hood, where the titular character himself, Robin Hood, braves the king and the guards just to win an archery tournament to get a kiss from Maid Marian. So somebody that he had not seen since they were kids. But still, just the idea of being close to her and getting a kiss was more than enough for him to do it, and essentially put his friends at risk as well. So it was, I always think that, I mean, everyone knows, well, I would hope anybody that listens to Cloud City Cast would know Robin Hood's one of my all-time favorites. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that one's my number 4.
Cool.
Excellent pick, my friend. I feel like that is one thing that I feel really bonded to you about, because you're one of the only people I know who loves Robin Hood as much as I do.
Yes.
And it just so happens my number 4 is exactly the same thing.
Nice.
So I totally agree, dude. When he shows up to the archery tournament just to kiss his girl, I love it, man.
That's awesome.
So good.
Nice. Great minds think alike.
Did you guys just become best friends?
Yes.
So this might come as a shock, but my number 4
It's also Robin Hood.
It's not Robin Hood. No, it's from an anime.
What?
It's the kiss scene between Haruhi and Kyon in The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya.
So, is this a popular anime? Like, I've never heard of this one.
Well, dude, you haven't heard of a lot of things.
I know, but like, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, what's the premise? Like, what is the situation that makes their interaction hit your number 4? Like, why would this be as good as Robin Hood?
Well, basically, what happens I don't really want to go into the show, but basically, what happens in this scene, like in this episode, we find out that Haruhi is basically God, pretty much. So everything that she creates, thinks about in her mind, is what actually happens. So she creates it, and that is the world that we live in. Okay. And she got jealous because Kyon was hanging around with one of the other girls. So basically what she did is she got rid of everybody in the world except for her and Keanu. So
That's
she
a
was
way to do
like,
it.
everyone else is gone. And she's just, going about her everyday life like, nothing happened. Like, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
And things slow, and like her mental health is slowly starting to deteriorate. Mm-hmm. So there's these big beings and they're like destroying the world because she's starting to lose it. And in order to bring her back, he goes and kisses her, and then right before he does it, he says, "I think you would look really cute in pigtails." And then he kisses her, and then that basically rewrites all of history. So the dream sequence that she had, where it was just the two of them, it's all gone. It goes back to normal, and she comes to school the next day wearing pigtails.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's like episode 6. So,
wow.
That's cute.
Sounds like an epic show.
Yeah, it's adorable.
Awesome.
They're just a bunch of dorks.
To me,
I like it.
Okay. So, to number 3 is at a Disney. Princess and the Frog. So, Naveen is willing to marry Charlotte just so Tiana can have her dream. And I think that is a huge romantic gesture, because even though they are both falling in love with each other, I think more so Naveen is showing it, and he thought that Tiana was showing it, but I think she was subconsciously falling in love with him. And then she showed that she still wants her dream more than anything else, and then he realizes, well, I love you, and I need you to have what you want. So he's going to go kiss Charlotte and marry her so she can get her restaurant. I think that's awesome.
And then even then Tiana still shows up and says, basically tells Naveen he doesn't have to do that for her, because she just would be happy being a frog just with him. And then obviously Charlotte does the whole no strings attached, I just want you guys to be happy. So
anyway.
But another John Oscar Ron Clements magic moment.
I guess I need to see Princess and the Frog.
You totally
do.
I guess so,
good.
It's so good.
I mean, if you like Hercules
underrated.
and Aladdin and Little Mermaid, like, I mean, this one's right up
like
there.
One of those.
It's good. It's good.
So for me, my number 3 actually came from the film that we reviewed today. So from Hercules.
Nice.
I thought there was a bunch of really fun romantic gestures, but I think the one that really stands out is when the column is about to land on Hercules while he's mortal, and Meg shoves him out of the way. So she ends up getting injured. And then when Hercules asks her why she did it, she goes, "People do crazy things when they're in love." And just that moment, your heart melts. You're just like, oh my God. like you knew that he loved her from moment 1, but this was like her, even after the song, this was her admitting it to him, not just to herself. So I love that moment.
Yeah.
I love it too.
That's a good one. I like it. All right, so my number 3 is from Tangled.
Nice.
But it's a different moment than
I bet I know which
picked.
one it is, because I think it's my honorable mention.
Yeah, for me, it's at the end of the movie when Flynn has, met his end, basically, and decides that instead of letting her save him, he's going to save her, and he crops off her hair.
Yep.
And to me, that was the ultimate self-sacrificing move that he could make. That just solidifies the fact that, he plays like he's this self-centered criminal type, but really he's a big softie, and he loves Punzi.
Yep.
Oh,
So
I like it.
That's my number 3.
Love it.
Tight.
So for my number 3, Gavin, can you read what it says for number 3 right there?
It says Flynn, Rapunzel, cutting hair, and bringing back. Nice.
Yeah, so the exact same thing.
Awesome.
Nice.
Sweet. I like the overlap.
Yeah, and I did I included that with, her bringing him back to life. I just kind of tacked that all as one
whole scene.
beautiful scene together.
Yeah, it's all pure love. It's good.
That is a good one.
Nice.
Awesome.
It gets you in the feels.
Oh, I think you hurt Vision's feelings. All right, B, number 2.
All right, number 2. So this one comes out of Pixar, and it is from my favorite Pixar film, Up. And it's Carl.
The opening 5 minutes.
What did he say?
It's the opening 5 minutes.
I was actually going to say the whole opening 5 minutes, but it's actually after the opening 5 minutes. It's Carl still taking Ellie, the house, to Paradise Falls. So the fact that even in death he needs her dream to come true, and he takes her to Paradise Falls, and it's going to make me cry, so I'm going to stop talking about it.
and I will...
Yeah, that's a good pick.
I will save us the time. That is also my number 2 for
nice.
for exactly the same reasons. Because when you really think about like as like heart-wrenching and amazing those first like 5 to 10 minutes is, that whole them meeting and then the montage and then her passing, like that whole set is so sweet. But the romantic moment for me is definitely when after they've beat Charles Muntz, and the house fades out of the clouds as it drops away, and Carl kind of is saying goodbye to her, because to him Ellie is the house now, and like that moment's just, it's so beautiful. And I think with that film is another one where it's like there's not a whole lot of characters, but they do so much with the ones that they have, so I love it.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. So you guys both picked that for number 2?
That was number 2 for both of us.
Nice. All right. Well, my number 2, I can guarantee, does not overlap with any of you people's. It's from my favorite Pixar movie.
Cars.
It's the moment when Lightning McQueen gets over himself,
meets Tomater,
and realizes that he actually loves everybody in town and that he's fallen for Sally. And so he helps everybody out, and then most importantly, he surprises her by fixing the town's neon, and they kind of have that street dance. And to me, that's just one of the cutest, sweetest moments in any of their movies. And, you know, you guys know that that's my favorite Pixar, so I love that. Whenever I hear that song now, I think of that movie. And I love the fact that they do that lighting ceremony every night at Cars Land. And you hear that song, and the lights come on down the street, and you see all the neon. I just think moves like that are so smart that they do. And it just catapults me right back into that movie every time I see it. And I love it.
It's funny because that was just on last night, so we were watching that. And actually, even though it's not one of my favorite Pixar films, it's definitely one of Remy's, because he just stopped doing what he was doing and watched it till it completely finished.
Yep.
Nice.
He loves
He's
the
got
cars.
great taste.
Well, he has a ton of Lightning McQueen toys. Like all the other family members have like passed them down to us. So he probably has as much Lightning McQueen as he does Mickey. Like it's insane.
He chooses it too to play with all the time.
Sweet.
So Josh, number 2.
My number 2, I went with another anime. My final anime.
Ooh.
My final one.
Okay.
I went with Toradora, the confession between Ryuji and Taiga. Because basically the way the show starts is he likes her best friend, she likes his best friend.
Oh, yeah, you told me about this one.
Yeah, and so he's trying to help Taiga, or Ryuji's trying to help Taiga get with his best friend and vice versa. And then slowly throughout the course, they fall in love with each other.
I like stories like that.
And then they finally, confess and then run away together.
Oh, that was sweet.
And then they, do this little kiss thing, and it's adorable.
I like it.
I see.
All right.
I see that animes like to kiss.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they definitely do. All right, you guys want to talk about your honorable mentions?
Cool. We can. I think ours probably go together. Let's see. What was one that you didn't mention? I know Goofy movie was my honorable mention. Because it was then so close.
Tangled and Princess and the Frog were honorable mentions for me. I actually wanted to give an honorable mention, and this was a show that Josh and Gavin had talked about briefly on one of their previous episodes, and Josh got me to watch it, called Erased. And I think one of the really sweet semi-romantic moments is the main character. Basically, he has the ability to go into the past, a couple minutes at a time, and he can save people. And then a certain event happens that catapults him all the way back to childhood, and he has to save a girl that gets captured and murdered.
Oh wow!
And so the whole thing is him being like, I want to say he's like a 10-year-old again, or like maybe he's 8 or 9, so he's really, really young.
Yeah.
And us having our nephew Matthew, like all I could think of it was like my brain being catapulted back in like Matthew's body, and Matthew trying to solve like a murder mystery.
Oh my goodness!
But there's one of the things that he does, that the main character does, is it Fujimoto?
I think so. I think that I think that's right.
What he
I think it's Fujimoto. Yeah.
What he figures out as part of this is that he wants to make sure nobody feels alone. So he tries to find anybody that seems like a loner and tries to incorporate that into his group of friends. And to me, it's like, I mean, he does it with the main girl that he's supposed to be saving, but then he starts doing it with all these other ones as well. And you're just like, what a sweetheart. Like, if
That
I
is so
saw a
sweet.
kid doing that, I'd be like, you are the sweetest, coolest kid I've ever met. So I thank you,
Nice.
Josh, for having me watch that. It's definitely one that I'll have to
watch it.
I'll have to make you watch because I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. And it's
Cool.
only like 8 episodes. It's not that long.
Cool.
Yeah, it's not super long.
Nice.
But no,
Very cool.
some of the other ones definitely like Prince Philip battling Maleficent
Yep.
for
Yep,
Sleeping
yep.
Beauty.
Cinderella,
definitely him
Charming,
going through the entire
whole
house.
country to.
I don't give an honorable mention to Prince Charming from Snow White because literally he just like walked up on her
Yeah,
in the
no.
forest. He didn't
He
have
just
to like
lucked out.
He didn't have to like battle anybody. Literally the dwarfs did all the hard work for him.
Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I mean it's tough because there are so many like sweet moments, like Latin Jasmine on the carpet. Like
Yeah.
that's a sweet moment as well. Ariel giving up her voice to be able to try to get Eric to fall in
Basically,
love.
any Disney movie
film
with
has
a love story.
a really good love story
There's
to
a good
it.
gesture
So.
in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Josh?
Nice.
Or you, Gavin, first?
Yeah, so my honorable mentions are from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Flint Lockwood makes the Jell-O house for Sam. That was totally cute and sweet. I loved that. I had Carl from Up going on his adventure
Yay.
to Paradise Falls. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you got to have that on the list. I had Prince Philip battling Maleficent as well. I also had Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas in her attempt to brave Oogie Boogie and free Santa and save Jack, who she knew was in trouble. To me, that's the romantic gesture of that movie.
Nice.
So I love them as a couple. And then how could we forget the Bella Notte? Tramp
Yep.
nosing the little meatball over to Lady, and they just have the sweetest little noodle kiss.
Yep.
That's just, to me, that's just a cute little date night moment, and that's iconic, so it had to be mentioned as well.
Nice.
What do you got, Josh?
First off, I went with A Whole New World, just the flying, the whole
Nice.
scene
It's all
there.
good.
I did go
It's a
with
baller move to show up
Yeah.
on a flying carpet.
I went with Hercules.
Oh, nice.
But I went with him. He finally gets what he wants. He finally gets to be a god.
Yep.
Gets to meet his parents, and then gives it all away so he can be with Meg.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Good
So
one.
like,
I thought it's like that.
the whole last 10 minutes of that film, like her pushing him out of the way, him going into the river of death to save her, and then him turning down God's ship to stay
Yeah.
with her. Like that whole sequence,
Yeah.
you're just like, you win, Herc.
I also went with Liam may like this one. I went with Ed and Winry's confession in Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah.
You know, when they're about to get on the train, and he's like, "When I come back, I'll just marry you." It's like perfect.
I
Nice.
was talking to Brittany about that one because we watched that whole series,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Yeah. So not Brotherhood, but the original series, the original OVA. But I enjoyed the fact that it really seemed like Winry was more into Ed than he was into her until kind of like that last part, and then that was like the only time you really see him thinking about something other than just getting him and his brother's body back. So I dug that.
And then my final one, I went with a little anime called Kokora Connect, and just showing Gavin, that's one of the confessions
Oh
that
my
they
gosh.
that they have.
Yeah,
Don't
we
read
won't
it.
quote this on the show. but
Yeah, and I sent it to you
the
too,
two characters,
Liam. So that's one of the
fantasizing
confessions.
about each other.
Yeah, I send. Yeah, so that's one of the confessions that they have with each other, and
Nice.
then later on they confess that they actually like each other and they kiss.
Young
And it's
lust.
adorable.
Sweet.
Nice.
Cool.
right,
Ready
That's
for
all I got.
Is
That's
that
all I
it?
got. Yeah.
All right,
Time for
Brittany,
the number
let's hear
one.
your number one.
All
right.
right. So my number one is really hard because it was so close with my number two, and it also comes out of Pixar. It is from WALL-E.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
Okay. So he is the cutest robot. And that is all alone on Earth for like 700 plus years. And then this more adorable little robot pops up, and just woos him without even liking him at all.
Yeah.
And he falls in love with her. He shows her the plant. She then shuts down, and he basically just goes on, takes care of her and goes on a date with her while she can't even do function. And I try to write every little thing that he did. That was adorable. So he puts her in the sun first. So he wants to give her some sun. It starts raining. He covers her with an umbrella, and then he also gets electrocuted 3 times and still covers her. He tries to jumpstart her. He pulls her little button out, or the plant button, and tries to jumpstart her, and he then gets electrocuted again. Takes her on a date through the mucky river. He tries to hold her hand, and then gets his hand smashed in her body, I guess. And then he follows her through space. And just tries to get the plant back to her because he knows this is what she really, really wants. So, I don't know. They're number one, Wally and Eve. The best.
That's a great pick. Fantastic pick. I can't believe I forgot about Wally.
Well, now it's an honorable mention for you.
It definitely is. All right, Liam.
So mine also came from Pixar, but this came from my favorite Pixar film, The Incredibles. And as much as Robert and Helen Parr are just the greatest parents, and the love between them is so fantastic, the moment that still to this day makes me tear up is at the end when they're about to go battle the Omnidroid and Syndrome, and he's trying to make the family stay in the mobile
RV,
home, the RV, and he wants to go off, and she's saying, and he's like, I'm not strong enough, and she's like, what? You're not strong enough? You have to do this in the floor. He goes, I can't lose you again. And I'm right there, my heart just breaks. It's one of those moments where you're just you don't think you will ever know a love like what Robert Parr has for Helen and the kids. And you're just, I mean, I do now as a husband and a father, but it's when I was a kid growing up, I was just that's what I want. As much as being in a band and touring the country was so much fun, and there were so many things that I got to do that I still look back on with fondness. The one thing I always wanted to be was a husband and a father. So having that and knowing firsthand what Robert feels there, that's awesome. So that's hands down my number one.
Sweet.
Nice.
Excellent pick. That was a good one.
Thanks.
All right, well, my number one is going to be part redundant, part not redundant. I'm picking a moment from the movie we discussed tonight, Hercules.
Yay.
So somebody picked Meg shoving Hercules out of the way from the fallen column, and somebody picked the last moment where he gives up godhood to stay with her. I'm picking the moment in between where he dives into totally unknown territory, risks death and whatever awaits him in Hades River, and almost doesn't make it there, but gives it every last bit of strength that he has left to rescue her, bring her out of that. And to me, that just a hair better than those other two spots,
Nice.
just because of how just heroic it is.
Yep.
But yeah, that ends on several epic moments of self-sacrifice and romance. So it's hard to pick one, but I'm glad we all picked 3 different
That
ones.
was
From
awesome.
Hercules. And then you have to remember it's followed up with one of the greatest lines where what's wrong with thee thither?
Yes. Yes, we do that all the time.
or
That's
when
awesome.
he backfists Hades' face and it turns into a smushed hole. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, maybe I deserve that.
Totally. That's awesome.
Perfect, dude. That's a great
I
pick.
love it. Good pick.
All right, Josh.
For my number one, I went Disney.
Yay.
It's a shocker. And I went with my favorite Disney movie of all time in The Lion King.
Yes.
And I
Knew
went
it.
with The Lick.
Yeah.
Between Simba and Nala, childhood friends, growing up in the African plains. What's the word? Not reunited. What's a word the opposite? Torn apart. Torn asunder by
Separated.
horrible circumstances beyond either of their control, reunited in a lick.
Yeah, but it's a lick and then a come hither look where it's
She's like,
we're gonna make a lot of baby lions.
She's got those bedroom eyes going. That's for sure.
Yeah,
and we all know what happened.
That's hilarious.
Nice.
Good pick, man.
that is awesome.
That is a good pick.
and I'm glad that we didn't really spoil the picks in our honorable mentions either. I think that was really cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we were all over the map there. I think that was pretty good.
Nice.
That was good.
It's a good
I know,
list.
but now, like Josh, you'll have to make sure you list or at least text us the anime ones so we can watch those.
Oh, yeah.
So we can know like why those would rank so high. Like, us being Disney nerds, like I'd love to see like if something can compete with Disney on a romantic level. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent you the pic of Rock and Revy doing the cigarette kiss.
Nice.
And it's basically just two people lighting a cigarette on each other, but the implications.
Oh, yeah. Sweet.
In the back of a police car.
In the back of a police car, yes. They've been arrested.
Yeah.
Even better.
Nice.
That makes it way more romantical.
Awesome.
That was fun.
Well, man, that was a lot of fun. I liked that. I think we all thoroughly enjoyed chatting about Hercules, ranking some romance. It's been a good Saturday night.
I know. Oh, yeah. I was like, wait, why are we doing so much romance? Duh. Tomorrow would be Valentine's Day after this show comes out.
Exactly. Yeah. We didn't do a whole month themed on Valentine's, but since this one was lined up with
we could have.
Pretty much.
We could have done a whole Valentine's one.
I know you could have.
Easily.
But, yeah, that's why we did it.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Good choice, guys.
All right, well, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, Gavin, do you want to tell everybody about the contest real quick? Just to give a little update.
We need to remind everybody about our contest. So, if you didn't listen to our previous episode, we announced that coming up in April, we are doing Audience Appreciation April. And this is just our give back month to say thanks to everybody who listens to us. We know a lot of our listeners have come from the audience of the Cloud City Cast, so thank you guys for referring people to us.
Of course.
It's nice being part of a network where we can kind of cross-market like that. But anyway, in April, we're going to be doing all fan picks. So everything we watch and review in April is going to be picked by our listeners, and everything that we rank in our top fives will be picked by our listeners. And we'll also be doing giveaways, and the big grand prize package giveaway, details to come, will be given out during that month. And what we're going to do to give you guys entries to that is every Wednesday we're going to have a post for Audience Appreciation April, and on that post you'll have a chance to leave us a comment, and you'll want to comment a movie or show that you want us to watch and review. And you can list several if you want. You can list 20. We don't care. Give us as many ideas as you have. And then also give us your ideas for what you want us to rank in our top fives. And if you do one or the other of those, or both, you can get a third entry by tagging 2 friends, sharing it with your friends who you think might like the Animation Station podcast. And so if you do that on every post that we do this month on Wednesdays, you'll have a total of 9 entries into our giveaway. And so we encourage you to do it every week and get as many entries as you can. And also be creative with your top fives. We're looking for anything, even as off the wall as it gets. We're up for the challenge. So look for that post on Wednesday.
Nice. Also, and, Josh, I got your 2 texts with those pictures. The first one is adorable. The second one, maybe not so much.
Maybe a little disturbing.
That's one of the confessions.
Fair
enough. That's a whole body swapping thing, so it's a deal.
Nice.
But yeah, I wanted to thank everybody who entered in the first. You gave us picks for the first one. So Ibrahim, Carolina, Josh Calhoun, Josh Hickey, Sakura Christina. You don't count because.
Whatever.
Yeah, you put Cars, or Pinocchio or whatever, so that's out. Hannah Elledge, Aaron Lee, and Corey Seals.
Nice. We got a lot of entries already.
Sweet.
So yeah, everybody that entered last week can enter again this week, so keep them rolling.
Nice. We'll try to send people your way again. We'll try to mention the giveaway on some of our episodes as well.
Oh, thanks.
Cool. Awesome.
Okay, well, I think that's
it,
ready.
Man. I think we're ready.
Sweet.
Let's wrap it up.
All right. Well, Gavin, where can everybody find you?
Everybody can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Gavin Otteson Art.
What about you, Liam?
I'm at Liam Bright, and you can find the show at Cloud City Cast, and those are both on Twitter and Instagram.
Cool. And
Perfect.
iTunes and Stitcher.
Yeah, I guess iTunes and Stitcher, you can find the show. You can't find Liam Bright on iTunes and Stitcher.
It wouldn't be that
He's not
interesting.
on there, but Cloud City Cast is.
You can find me at Citizen of Disney on both Instagram and Twitter.
Nice.
Perfect.
And you can find me at Josh L. Kane on Twitter and Instagram.
Nice. Where can they find the podcast?
You can find the podcast on Instagram at Animation Station Podcast, on Twitter at Animate Podcast, on Facebook, on our website, animationstationpodcast.com. You can find all of our episodes on iTunes, Stitcher, and through the website on the little podcast tab.
Sweet.
And don't forget to visit all of our podcast network shows on secretsuperheroclub.com, and you can enjoy the conversation with it's a closed Facebook group, so you could join in and just chat with anybody about anything, whether it's animation, Disney, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Star Trek, whatever you want to talk about, we will talk about.
Nice.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for joining us. We had a blast, and we can't wait to do it again.
Heck yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Seriously, guys, anytime. And we're going to have to drag you onto our show for something good. So
Yep.
Absolutely.
There's plenty of Firewind Readies that have to be discussed. So
I don't know. I've never been through one of those.
Depending on how these and depending on how these Oscars turn out, we probably have some things in store for each other.
I'm going to be honest. We're probably going to do it either way. So
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It just sounds like a lot of fun to do. So I'm pretty much down for it either way. But it's bragging rights. We'll put it as bragging rights at this point.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
definitely bragging rights, yeah.
I got to tell you, like, I would be so pumped to hear you guys do those 3 episodes. I think it'd be great.
Yeah,
I know we.
And I'm up for whatever you guys would have for us too. I think it would be fun. So maybe we just do it anyway.
Nice. That's what I'm thinking. But
Nice.
we'll still tie it to the Oscars, and then we'll let each show decide. I mean, whoever loses has to do it, but the winner can choose whether or not they want to do it. So we'll leave it at that.
Cool. I like it. Watch Kubo win, man.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
right. Oh,
Well, see, here's the thing. What happens if that zucchini thing wins?
So
It could, too.
So I don't know if we said it or if somebody said to us, but if something else beats Moana and Zootopia, then we both lose and we both have to do it regardless.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Deal.
'Cause
I
then we
like
both
it.
lost.
Virtual handshake.
There you go. I love it.
Nice. All right, guys.
All right, cool.
All right.
Thanks. Well,
So-
her parent or her mom and our nephews just dropped by, so we're gonna go and hang out with them.
Sweet. All right.
Nice. Well,
Have a
for
good
the
night.
Animation Station, I'm Josh.
I'm Gavin.
I'm Liam.
I'm Brittany.
There we go.
Made you look.
Try to make the world a better place.
You sounded like me.
Excellent.
I like it.
I try.
Thank you for listening to the Animation Station Podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Animation Station Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Animate Podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes. And join the conversation at secretsuperheroclub.com, where you can connect with our podcast friends, Cloud City Cast, Getting Into Comics, and Shaun of the Gathering.